For years, people in Congress have been fighting to open the Fed's books and have been unsuccessful. Last year, Bernie Sanders and Ron Paul succeeded in getting a small window of time period from 07 to 09 open from the Fed's history, and they have the records basically of the entire bailout period. And this covers 21,000 transactions, trillions of dollars in loans.
So I want to read viewers a quote from the story that you put together. A key aspect of TALF is that the Fed doles out the money through what are known as non-recourse loans. Essentially, this means that if you don't pay the Fed back, it's no big deal. I think for anybody that seems really outrageous. Why isn't anyone looking into this with a harder line, and why isn't it something that people have to pay back?
Well, this was ostensibly this program, the TALF, was designed to get the frozen credit markets going again. This was late in 2008. The banks were not lending to car dealerships and consumer outlets, and so they wanted to provide an incentive for banks and hedge funds to lend. And so they basically said, look, if you buy loans, you can keep 100% of your investment gains, but we'll eat 90% of the losses. And that's how they did this. If you buy the collateral, you give it to us. If it goes up in value, you take them back. If it doesn't, if it goes down in value, you leave it on our books, and we'll eat the losses. And that's how it worked.
So according to your article, one of the banks that got financial help during the bailout was an Arab banking corporation of Bahrain. So explain to all of us why that is significant. Why would they even be on the list?
Well, that's what we can't figure out. You know, with the people who actually turned me onto the story were Bernie Sanders' office, and they're looking through this list, and they find not only a number of foreign banks. There's the Bank of Bavaria, the Arab Bank of Bahrain, which was 63% owned by the Libyan Central Bank. They got a $35 billion loan from the Fed, a low-interest loan.
Tomorrow.
Wow.
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Yeah.
Unconfirmed.
No.
What up?
Unconfirmed reports about Qadhafi being captured.
Really?
Unconfirmed. Yeah. We've had too many. We've had a bunch of those before. We've had, you know, have had him captured a couple of times.
Yeah.
NTC fighters say they attacked a convoy of cars around 8 o'clock in the morning. NATO also confirmed targeting 2 vehicles in the area. There are reports that he was hiding in these drain pipes. Later, around midday, these fighters claim to have caught the former leader.
He was sleeping here and make some bodyguards around the place. We make by strong body elite in this place and somebody shot him by gun 9mm.
News of his fall was greeted by jubilation in Sirte. In Benghazi, NTC leaders also welcomed the news.
We will announce to the world, that Muammar Qadhafi has been killed on the hands of the revolutionaries.
Do you think that this is really an event to celebrate, just digging a little deeper into what has happened?
Well, actually, the circumstances of his death are not yet known because there are conflicting reports about whether he was killed by the current government or the people who were called insurgents before, or whether his convoy was attacked by NATO forces. So we don't know for sure how he died. And of course, it would have been much better for the Libyans to try him. But it's a new way of fighting wars. You know, a few weeks ago, the Obama administration killed a guy in Yemen. Then before that, there was bin Laden, who was assassinated. It's clear that NATO doesn't want to be embarrassed by leaders that it supported different in the past, and then it was opposed to them in a court of law. So it's far more efficient to kill the opponents rather than to prosecute them and to give them the possibility of expressing views that would show that the West has not been in the same position in relation to these leaders in the past.
Well, following that logic that you're saying that the embarrassment that would have come out if Gaddafi had been able to speak out, So are you saying that they are happy with the outcome? Is this what they were gunning for to begin with?
Well, it's difficult to be in their minds, but most probably, yes. There's a pattern now. You kill the leaders of the regimes that you're opposed to, and of course, an ugly regime. The Qadhafi was not a dictator; he was a murderer and so on. No doubt, a very ugly guy. But there were moments when various countries in the West were very close to Qadhafi. In 2007, I think it was, he came to Paris. He spent a week there. He pitched his tent just outside a major hotel. So there were moments when there were business dealings with the regime. Even security equipment was sold to him. So if a dictator with whom you've worked is killed instead of tried in a court of law, of course, you cannot reveal the complexity of your relationship with him. And since the people are rejoicing, everything is covered up and everyone rejoices officially. But the main thing, of course, is not to reveal the very complex interactions that have always existed between Libya and the West.
Cover that you weren't able to get, I guess, light completely shed on.
Well, there's just the names on this list are really startling. You know, aside from Christy Mack and
right.
Susan Karchis, you have Wayne Huizenga, who's the former owner of the Miami Dolphins. He's on this list. He has an enormous loan. John Paulson, who you might remember is the hedge fund guy who was tied up with Goldman Sachs in that crazy Abacus deal that Goldman ended up getting fined, $600 million for. He got an enormous emergency loan from the Fed. There's dozens and dozens of hedge funds that have Cayman Islands addresses. So in other words, here you have companies that are basically evading U.S. taxes by getting Cayman Islands addresses.
Sure, shipping it off.
Right, and we're subsidizing it by giving federal loans to these people. So it's a crazy, crazy system. As Senator Sanders said, the Fed has basically turned into the central bank of the world. We're no longer really engaged in developing United States interests. Right. It's really just a series of random loans given out to various wealthy interests.
So where is the outrage in this? I mean, how come nobody's going to go to jail? And if anybody reads this article in D.C., in Rolling Stone, and sees all of this, who's going to go after these people to say, hey, you know what, you got to give the American people their money back?
Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't.
Is that first you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!